Building a home from the ground up with a production builder can be a long process. Here in North Texas right now, we're running between 6 and 8 months when you do that from start to finish. That's a long time. That's a lot of time to watch the house be built. That's a lot of time to make decisions. Also, a lot of time to get cold feet. So what happens if you're in the middle of the build process and you just decide this house is not for me? Are you stuck? Are you going to lose all your money? Let's talk about that today, because I think it's super important that you understand this when it comes to the new construction build process. First of all, I want to tell you, I love that you have decided to consider building a brand new construction home. You're taking that step, you're asking the right questions. And one of the big questions that gets asked of me a lot is, what happens to my money? Where does it go? And what happens if we have to back out? So there's a couple things that are going to happen in this process. So one, at the start of your home, so when you go into the builder's office and you sign the contract, pick the lot, pick the floor plan, do all the structural changes and all the upgrades, you're going to make an initial earnest money deposit. I always tell people, think about this like an engagement ring. This is the point that you and the builder, you are starting to get married together, right? This means that nobody else can buy the house that you're buying. This is your house, or is going to be your house. This is not your house yet, but you are going to end up together. And so the engagement ring or the earnest money deposit is what makes that contract a consideration, and it actually makes it a contract. This money is dependent. It changes based on builder. So sometimes it's 3%, sometimes it's a flat fee, sometimes it's 1%. It just depends on the builder, the price point, the community, all of those different things. But also, pro tip, this is negotiable. You can ask the builder, let's just say, hey, our deposit in this community is $15,000. You can say, well, we want to move forward, but we can only do 10, or we want to split that up into 2 deposits or 3. All of those things are negotiable. You just have to ask about it on the front end. Nonetheless, so you'll make that deposit. That is your money. It is credited to you at closing, assuming we close on the house. Now the question is, what happens if we don't close, right? So before we get to what happens if we don't close, also need to tell you, most builders will require you to make some sort of additional design deposit once we get through the design phase of your home. So you make a deposit on the earnest money at the beginning. You will probably make an additional design deposit. And again, this is dependent based on builder. Some of them it's 10% of total upgrades, some of them it's half of total upgrades, some of them it's another flat fee. It just is dependent. So just know that design, once that happens, and that's usually 45 to 70-ish days after initial contract, once we get through that whole process, you will make an additional deposit. So you need to make sure you have those funds available. And honestly, this is kind of the point for a lot of people, at least in my world. They start to ask the question, oh, well, what happened? People start to get a little cold feet and get a little worried. I want to help alleviate some of those worries, but I also want to help you understand the seriousness of the contract that you're in, right? So before I get there, I want to tell you, my name is Zach. I sell a ton of new construction here in DFW. That's my specialty as a real estate agent. That's what I enjoy doing. It's what I love doing. So if you have questions about new construction, you're wanting to build, or you're buying from a builder's inventory, let's have a conversation. Contact information is down below. Whether you're here in DFW or you're moving to DFW, I'm here to help any way that I can. Back to it. This earnest money deposit, when you read through the builder's contract, there's a lot of language in there. Those contracts are written to protect the builder, not to protect you. You'll read language in there that says your earnest money is non-refundable. They do not, there is very clear outline step. This money is non-refundable. So you need to make sure that you understand when you sign that contract, you are committing to buy that house. Now, here's the thing. I understand life happens, circumstances happen, things change, and there are always alternatives. Let's say, for example, you have a change of, life scenario. Say you were thinking you were going to build a house here in Dallas, and then all of a sudden your company says, hey, we're actually relocating you to North Carolina. And you're like, well, we're not even building this house anymore. Can we get our money back? It depends. So I think that's the whole premise of this video is 100% it depends. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen builders where I've had clients that are like, hey, they're getting moved for a job and they're not even going to be in the state anymore. And the builder lets them out of that contract and says, yeah, here, we'll refund your earnest money. I've had other times where things happen or things change and the builder doesn't refund the money. Or I've had scenarios where clients will be like, hey, we're just their job didn't change, their income didn't change, they just got cold feet, they were scared of the market, and the builder did not refund their money but told them they could hold their deposit for up to a year, which meant anywhere that builder was building here in North Texas, if they wanted to start another contract, they had that money on file for up to a year that they could use. I've had other times where builders have refunded half of the deposit. So it just depends, but let me be very clear. there is language in that contract that most likely says your deposit is non-refundable. It is credited to you assuming that you close. You will see it on the balance sheet at closing, but if you decide to back out in the middle or things like that, they are not required to refund your deposit. Sometimes they will. It all depends on how you ask. It all depends on the circumstance. It all depends on their experience with you. Like if you've been like a jerk and you've been terrible to deal with throughout the whole process, you're probably not getting that back. If you've been genuine and authentic, you've dealt with people with grace and humility, and you've been honest and upfront, and again, it depends on the situation, job loss or catastrophic event. So I always want you to be prepared. My job is to help you, like, as you walk through that, just know like what you're getting yourself into, because yes, 6 months is a long time, especially if you're worried about things that are happening. The alternative is if you want a new home, instead of waiting the 6 to 8 months or sometimes 9 in certain communities, look at a builder's inventory. Things that can close 30 to 45 days might be a better option for you if you know personally that you're like, I just can't handle the ups and downs of all the different things of building. Like I want something new, but I can't handle waiting it out, right? So maybe the builder's inventory is an option. You'll see that in a lot of different communities. They have inventory or they have contracts that bust, right? And so a bust is kind of like what we're talking about here. Somebody, backs out for one reason or the other. They couldn't get financing. And that's the other piece of it. If the interest rate changes or you no longer qualify for your loan, that's a different piece of the conversation on the earnest money. But if you just up and decide, you're like, we're not doing this anymore, they're probably going to keep your money. I just need you to know that. All of this big mumbo jumbo to just say it depends, but you need to be certain when you get into contract with a builder to build a house that you are sure that you want that house, you want to be in that neighborhood, you want to be where that house is, you want the things that you're putting in that house, because you're probably not, like, I would not count on getting it back, just so plan accordingly, right? Or like I said, look at taking something off the builder's inventory so that you don't have that long of a time to have to wait. So all that, hope that is helpful. Hope you understand, like, there's a lot that goes into this process. There's a lot that you need to know. My job is to try and give you as much information as I can, educate you, and help you through that home buying process as we go into the new year, as we look into 2024, and even look beyond that. I'm here to be a resource. I'm here to help. If you have questions, if you have things that you want to know about, my contact information is down below. Call, text, email. I would love to work with you. I would love to answer your questions and help represent you and your family as we move you into a brand new home or build your brand new home here in DFW. So thank you for watching today. We'll see you in our next video. Appreciate you guys. Bye for now.